Hi there. My demonstration today is going to be a painting of my friends Dave Bielanko and Christine Smith from the group Marah and their project, their music project called the Mountain Minstrelsy Project that they recently completed. These are photos that I'm working from that I took at their album release gig across the street at the Elk Creek Cafe just a few weeks ago. And I do like to paint things while they're fresh in my mind, so I've got the memory, if I'm working from photographs at least, so I got the memory of what it was like being there and listening and all that while I'm doing the work. So you can see I'm going to zoom in close on this in just a minute. I've got my canvas, it's 11 by 14 inch panel, canvas applied to an archival grade of backing. It's made by a company called Ventura out of Italy. Inexpensive, high quality. I love using these panels for smaller work. I usually use stretched canvases for larger pieces. I've got my photograph here. I'll show you that. See how this goes. This is a straight photo, just as I took it with a little bit of cleaning it up in Photoshop on the computer. This is a smaller one where I've done some filtering to kind of give it a little more the effect I want to as I paint it more impressionistically, but just a few suggestions. I'm mainly going to be looking at the straight photo as I work. And I've got my palette set up here, which I'm going to zoom in closer then. You can see here what I've got is my basic colors that I almost always paint with. These are Griffin alkyds, Winsor & Newton's Griffin alkyds. It's what I do most of my oil work with, pretty much all of it. It's faster drying than a standard oil. My standard palette that I almost never vary from is titanium white, cadmium yellow, either medium nor deep, and cadmium yellow light, cadmium red, medium generally, magenta, which is also called quinacridone red, ultramarine blue, phthalocyanine blue, and sometimes I'll add black if I need it, and I could use black in this piece as I get toward the end if I want to make some richer shadows. Oftentimes though, with these rich deep colors mixed together, I don't even need black. That's what I generally work with. With the alkyd oils, I also use, or alkyd, you can say it either way, I also use Liquin as my only medium. Liquin is basically the alkyd oils without any pigment in them. So it keeps your drying time completely steady throughout. You're not mixing fat and lean and all of those rules that usually go with oil painting, and so you don't have to worry about uneven drying times causing problems. Makes it a simple way to work with oil paints. I've got a couple of cans, little jars here set up with odorless mineral spirits, and I'm ready to go. The next step though will be show you how do I get my sketch onto this panel in a way that I'm not like taking forever to measure and upsize, because you can see this is smaller than this, so that would create a problem. I'd be doing a lot of measuring. You could use grids. I'll show you an easy way to get a sketch here to begin painting from. So here I've got a black and white photograph of the same image that I'm going to paint from. In this case, I've blown the black and white up on the computer. I've blown it up on the computer and then desaturated it to black and white because I don't need color for this part of it, to exactly the size of my canvas panel. And because my printer won't print 11 by 14, it's actually two pieces. I made two separate documents each. I made a document 11 by 14 theoretically on the computer, cut it in half to print it as two separate images. So each one would print on 8.5 by 11. What I'm going to do is tape this down and use this as a tracing, basically like carbon paper behind it, in order to trace just the basic outlines of my image. Since I have people, I have instruments, I want this, even though I'm going to do this loosely and impressionistically, I want to do this in a way that's accurate to the people here, to the instruments, so you can tell who it is, even though it's in a very loose way. Now, how am I going to do that? I don't have carbon paper. This isn't carbon paper. I could use carbon paper, get some, but then sometimes it makes it a little bit too heavy. What I'm going to do is turn this into carbon paper, just with a soft pencil or a graphite stick in this case. And I'll show you how I can easily tell where the important lines are that I want to make sure I've got carbon behind, since it's not behind the whole thing. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tape it up to the window here in the studio backwards so I can see through it and be able to tell exactly where I need to get my carbon behind it. It doesn't have to be behind everything. Facial features, hands, the main lines of clothing. Basically, so when I then use a pen or a sharp pencil as a stylus on the front, I'll get all the important marks. For something like this, it's a little less critical than a traditional portrait would be, because this will be a loosely done kind of piece to capture the energy of musicians playing and singing, doing their music. I don't want it real detailed. So I'm not worried about getting every little detail in my sketch. What I'm worried about is getting the people in the right places, features correct. I always like to include, if there's a microphone, if they're singing into a microphone, I like to have the microphone there. Maybe not as prominent as it is in the photo, but hey, that's part of performing, is microphones. Maybe someday it won't be, but it sure is now, and so have it there. Okay, background's going to be just suggested anyway, so I don't need to have this behind background. All right, I've got that. Ready? Okay, ready for this step. Tape this down. Make sure I've got my outlines where they should be. I actually printed it a little bit narrower because I don't need anything along the edges. So I've got it centered just where I want it now. And now it doesn't matter whether I use a sharp pencil or a pen. It's basically just functioning as a stylus. So I'm just hitting the main important outlines. Mouth, nose. Once I start painting, these lines will quickly disappear and I'll be on my own simply using the paint to create everything in the painting. This is just a starting point to get things started in the right places. Going around the mic. I tape it down so that if anything gets jiggled while I'm doing this, I don't end up with conflicting lines telling me where things should be. Now I'll show you what I've got so far and then I'll finish it up and go on. I'm going to do this video and others in stages so you don't have to watch the whole process. But so you can see how that's coming, there we go, how that's coming through and giving me outlines. I'm going to continue this and then we'll actually dive into the painting part of things.